Everyone. So the Lakers end up trading for Anthony Davis, and it was a stellar move, right? They immediately win the NBA championship. Fast forward a couple years, then they decide to go and trade for Russell Westbrook. And LeBron James and Anthony Davis were huge parts in that deal. Rob Pelinka had different ideas in mind, but he healed. Even DeMar DeRozan himself said, hey, I thought I was going to the Lakers. Whether they would have gotten both or just one or whatever would have been the end result. Ultimately, they ended up getting Russell Westbrook. And a lot of people, say, well, Rob Pelinka, he's the GM. He's responsible. And I do understand to an extent. But look, no GM is telling their two stars, no, we're not going to do that, especially when you realistically have a way to do so. The idea made some sense. LeBron James is getting towards the end of his career. He's became a better shooter. He can play off the ball more, allow a guy like Russ who can constantly just handle the workload and the burden of just night in and night out having to play and give 110%. It kind of lets LeBron, as he gets into his later years, kind of, be able to recoup and be good. They just unfortunately couldn't stay healthy last year. Not that I think that they would have won anything, but if they would have had more time to play, who knows? Maybe they could have figured it out, right? Like this year, it seemed to have kind of been working, right? Russ accepted the role to come off the bench. He was really able to thrive and kind of turn his production for the Lakers around. Anthony Davis was playing like the best player on the planet and just really kind of dominating. LeBron James was being LeBron James, and it looked like, okay, things are finally starting to fall in place. This is the Lakers we've been waiting for, right? This is the idea for these three. You have LeBron James being able to be LeBron James, but when LeBron isn't in the game or takes the night off or whatever, you got Russ who's able to play make and handle a lot of the workload and the burden, and he just doesn't take nights off, and it's very convenient. And unfortunately, Anthony Davis hurt, and now we're kind of in a tough bind, and the real question is, should the Lakers make a trade? Should they make a move? Even before Anthony Davis got hurt, a lot of people were screaming, you need to make a move, you need to make a trade, right? The Lakers are so close. Every time they play one of the top teams, one of the better teams, they either win or they're in it. Most of the games this season, they've only lost by just a play or two. Like, they're in the games, and it's just like, come on, you're right there. Just a solid move or two would make the Lakers a contender. And that is something that really could be a possibility. And Rob Pelinka, we know, is doing his due diligence. He's actively trying to find some type of trades, but he doesn't want to rush or force a deal just to force a deal. He doesn't want to make a trade just to make a trade, primarily based on a report that came out today because of the past mistakes of trying to go all in. And what was exactly reported per The Athletic, Jovan Buha, the Lakers front office doesn't want to compound its previous mistakes with more win-now moves. Buha noted general manager Rob Pelinka and the Los Angeles Brain Trust are still evaluating their options on the dormant trade market, but there has to come a point when they accept the reality at hand. So, again, Rob Pelinka really has some decisions on his hand. Does he make a move and try to put your chips to the table and try to build a contender and try to go for another championship and kind of help LeBron towards the end of his career with Anthony Davis? Or do you just ride this season out and just say, hey, it's a loss. It's a lost cause, unfortunately. LeBron James, Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. We're too far behind. What is the point? This also makes sense as to why the Lakers are kind of star chasing, right? Because I think they're afraid to make a marginal move that ends up not working out, right? Making some small move that doesn't really do anything, but you give up all your assets, and it's like, okay, well, now you're better, but you're just, instead of being a play-in team, you're the 6th seed. Like, that's what I think he is worried about, and the concern is, like, Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. LeBron is only getting older. Russ doesn't really fit. He's probably on his way out. We just stand pat. We have all that cap space, and we got, all of our assets, all of our picks. Maybe we can make something happen in the offseason. That could be a real possibility. But he's going after stars because it's like, well, if we get a star, then, worst case, it doesn't work right now, but we have that star for after LeBron, and then maybe we could build a new contender around that star. And maybe those three guys, the three stars, can kind of be the driving force and catalyst going forward and maybe win us a championship, right? And I can just put the pieces around. It's trying to justify the end result, right? And personally, I do think the Lakers should go all in. You don't want to make a deal just to make a deal. You don't want to make a trade just to make a trade. You also, what I mean by going all in is it has to be a deal that makes sense, not just for this year, but going forward, right? You need some cohesiveness, and obviously the big bummer was the Russell Westbrook trade. And I am a huge fan of Russell Westbrook. I have been a huge defender of Russell Westbrook, but it's not enough for the Lakers, right? Like I love that he's embraced his role. I love what his role is on this team, and I have actively defended his role on this team. But the Lakers really need depth, and if the only way to get the depth is by trading Russ, then you trade Russ. Especially because chances are Russ is not going to be on the Lakers next season. I don't think they want him. I don't think he really wants them, right? So if he's not going to be on the team and you can get a deal that makes sense, you get a deal that makes sense. And if you can get the pieces and the cohesiveness this season, then you do it. Because even if you don't win this season, you still have a fresh offseason, a fresh training camp, all of the things with those players that you went and got. Whomever they are. Let's just say it's the Spurs deal, just for argument's sake, right? You trade, Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, Russell Westbrook, and you go get, several plate pieces. Let's say it's Bojan Bogdanovic. Let's say you get Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, Jakob Poeltl, right? You get those four guys for your three guys. Perfect, right? Yes, you got to integrate all four of those guys into the roster. Role players are easier than another star, and you're probably a really good team. But let's say Anthony Davis takes a while, you don't really win, or it's just a little clunky, it's a little awkward, but you can see the potential, right? Well, next season, you would have the exact same team, but you'd have an entire offseason and training camp to get them in order, to get everyone to build that chemistry, to build that cohesiveness. Look at the teams that usually win. A lot of the times they are like Milwaukee had been together for years. They just got Drew Holiday and stuff like that, but that the bulk of that team had already been together, right? The Lakers, they kind of, built it on the fly, but, Anthony Davis and LeBron James were just a perfect complement. All the role players most of them were already there and stuff. And, at least the key factor role players, right? They were already there. And then, take like the Celtics. The Celtics have been on the same roster for the last several years. The Warriors have been on the same roster for the last several years. So you need some cohesiveness. If you look at all the top teams, they've all pretty much been together for the last few years. They might have added a piece or two here and there, but for the most part, they're all there, right? Lakers need that. They need that cohesiveness. And so if you can make a deal now that makes sense for not only now, but for the next few years, at least the next 2 years after this year, then I think you do it. I think you make the move. Because, you're not going to get, unless James Harden or Kyrie Irving come to the Lakers, what are you going to get in the offseason that's really going to change the tides of your franchise? All you're doing is basically prolonging a year of getting players when you could get those same players this year, and at least you have more time together. So even if you don't win this year, next season they have more chemistry, they have more of an understanding, they have more of just cohesiveness, right? So I just think however you shake it, most of the guys that the Lakers are trying to acquire are all free agents next season. So yes, the Lakers could go and sign them, but they wouldn't be able to sign all of them, right? Because they need their bird rights. So if you're going to say you really do want Jakob Poeltl and Josh Richardson, you're probably not going to be able to sign them. So trade for them now, and you get that extra, 6 months or whatever, half a year of just building that chemistry. And if it works and you're off to the races immediately, then perfect, right? Now you're a contender, and now you're competing for a championship this year. If not, then it should hopefully be next year. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. But, I think the Lakers, they have their tradable pieces. And I think you really got to look at maybe moving off of them in making those kinds of trades. I don't want to see Russ go. I love Russ on the Lakers. I've always wanted Russ on the Lakers, and it's unfortunate. But reality is reality. You know what I mean? Like, if you can get a trade that makes sense, that makes you better now and the future, gives you more, general productivity as well as just depth and the ability to ride out Anthony Davis, then sure, right? I don't want to see them just trade Russ just to trade Russ. Like, I don't want to see like Russ for, Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson. Like that, I would be furious. But, if you traded Russ and you got, like I said, the Spurs deal, Jakob Poeltl, Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, right? Like, okay, that makes sense. And then, like, if you took Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, and you got Bojan Bogdanovic. Like, I think that those four players are going to give you more production and make you better overall than Russell Westbrook would, as much as I love Russ. So I just think that is kind of how I look at it, but we'll see. Hopefully the Lakers make a decision sooner rather than later. I do kind of understand. It sounds to me like it's fear. It sounds like it's fear of incompetence is really what it sounds like. Like, I'm not confident that I can make a deal that puts us in a position I'd rather do no deal than a bad one. And it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like you need to trust your abilities, trust what's out there, trust your stars, right? Not that Anthony Davis has given you a ton of ability to trust him, but still, like he's shown if he's healthy, he can lead you. So I just think right now, like, what do you have to lose? Figure it out later. I know it's silly. I'm not one of those people that are like F them picks just to F them picks like a lot of people are. But if you have an opportunity to improve your team right now and for the next like 2-3 years, I think you do it. I think you do it and you figure it out from there. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Does this concern you? Does it not? How do you feel? Good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between? I'd love to hear it. Let me know down